Hello OnlyFans and welcome to Gifted Raider. My name is Ben Dragon. I'm a Canadian skateboarder from St. Petersburg, Florida. Today we're going to talk about Lurpiv trucks made in Sweden, like all the Swiss Army knives. Today specifically we're going to be addressing the inverted kingpin and the issue with it loosening up. First of all, I want to say I bought these trucks as a skateboarder, but also as a machinist that's interested in the Rio casting process that's been used in manufacturing these trucks. So, the other thing I want to point out is they are aware of their kingpin issue and they have been trying to remedy the situation for some time now. And a big shout out to a company that takes ownership of their issues and tries to resolve those issues, and even going out of their way to ship spare parts and replacement parts all the way over here to the United States of America, where I'm sitting at. This is not an official review, but this is a look at the box and the packaging that comes about. Very nice little letter from Oski himself. You may have already seen some of these on the internet floating around, but they kind of come out the box looking like in one piece. Now I already started taking apart one of mine because I noticed the issue with the kingpin seemed like it was loose inside the base plate. Immediately they shipped me a new set of the inverted kingpins, which are supposed to go back in upside down or regular nut on the top. However, when I started to take this truck apart to replace the kingpin, I noticed a few things. I do like these nuts on here. They have the speed washer. I'm trying hard to find it. They have the speed washer already built into the nut on the back side there. But what has happened here is it looks like the nylon in the top has sort of blown out. I'm not sure if it's too hard or too soft. I haven't really dug into that too much, because when I took this out and I went to put the kingpin back in through the other side, I found some interference. And what I found was that when the kingpin had been sitting inverted like this, and I pulled this nut into the pocket on the bottom of the base plate here, that there's some interference with, and I'm going to try to show you the area in question, at the bottom of that hole there, where that flat surface meets the hole inside the, what is that, hexagon? I'll have to correct that later. There was a small burr, and it didn't seem like the burr should have come from the manufacturing process, because the hole is drilled out through the top here, and it does have a nice chamfer on the top here where they've deburred from that machining operation. So what I kind of figured out was that this little ledge on the bottom of the nut here is pushing on the edge of that hole and rolling in and creating a burr. What else I also discovered was that because of the size of this hole, this is a roughly 3/8. It's 385 thousandths. I guess that'd be 10 millimeter if we're doing metric. And then the 385, and then the boss here only measures at 455. So that is a difference of 70 thousandths divided by 2. That would be the wall thickness. Would only give us 35 thousandths of an inch bearing surface in the bottom of that hole, which would very easily push in a burr, especially as I think that this is an aluminum nut, that this material is a little bit softer and more likely to push in. And I think that also that is what's contributing to other people's hardware loosening up, or it seems like it's loosening up. So I believe it's a combination of the top washer blowing out here and the burr building up on the bottom. A couple of things that I'm going to try to do to remedy this. Number one was to deburr the bottom of this hole. There's a few different ways you can go about that. If you don't have a countersink, which I do, I'm going to use a countersink here in a minute. But you can use a small half round or even a fully round file and just kind of brush inside that pocket there, just a little in and out, in, out, in, out, until it gets nice and smooth and your kingpin goes through there easily. Okay? Now, the other reason that I want to go with the counter bore is because on the bolt there's not always an exact flush where the shoulder meets the head of the bolt. There's always a slight radius right up in this corner here. Now, the other thing I discovered was here in the United States we use mostly imperial measurements. Shout out Ben Dragos, Dragon brother. So we have a 13 millimeter across the top of here. So when I had to get a tool, I had to go get something special. Craftsman, made in the USA, 13 millimeter, in order to work on these trucks. But what I found is that because of our bearings and our hardware on our skateboards, they had to use imperial standard for some of their other measurements. So this thread is actually the same as your axle nuts on most of your trucks, and the same as the axle nuts on these trucks, by the way, which is a 5/16 24 thread. So very interesting that they went through the trouble to make the heads of these bolts 13 millimeter for the wrenches, but then they're American standard on the threads. First I thought it was metric, very close to an M8 1.0 thread, but it just catches right there on the last little one. So there's a few different ways you can go about getting these bolts or these nuts if you don't have the proper ones. You can steal some off your axles of your old trucks and get these nice thin axle nuts. You can go to your skate shop and they usually have these in there for sale for like $1 or something like that. You can also go to a hardware store. Hardware stores sell some variety of stainless steel ones, but note these are a little more thick and a little more robust, which I think may play well in the kingpin here when we go to put this back together. Now these do fit just a little bit sloppy because it's just a little bit smaller, slightly smaller than a, but it still locks in there very nicely. This is just a regular nut off of old trucks, some generic trucks I got with a complete, fits in there real nice and smooth. Alright, so again, a couple of the things that I think would really help in the long run with the manufacturing of these trucks is putting a countersink in the bottom of this hole here. Let's smooth that out a little bit. Watch out for metal shavings. Oh yeah, it looks good. And by the way, this material cuts exceptionally nice. Very nice little countersink right down there. You can see that edge is shiny. Alright, so there's no more burrs hanging up in there. And so hopefully this has been informative and helpful for anybody else that's going to be setting out to try to repair their own Lurpiv trucks. Forgive me if I'm saying that incorrectly. So again, this is Ben Dragon signing out for the Gifted Raider Lurpiv Trucks Repair Review.